Right, I'll just try and give a quick rundown on some of the kit that I used while I was away, and I'll give you a quick update on Bess as well if she comes back. As you remember, I used the Cuban Trail Star, and I do like it. I must admit I do like it. And whilst it's not as adaptable and it's not as flexible as the Sil Nylon Trail Star, you know, it is very, very light for what it is, and you get complete shelter and coverage with it. So really there's not a lot to dislike about it other than other than it's not as flexible as the Sil Nylon Trail Star, but I must admit it is starting to grow on me now. So I was more than happy to take that. Doesn't want to encourage that sort of thing. The bug bivvy, again, I think it's more designed for a proper tarp, because I think with a proper tarp you'd be able to get a little bit more height here. Yeah, I think a proper tarp you'd be able to get this tighter, but ironically this does line up perfectly with the mutton hook on the Trail Star. It's in perfect alignment, it's just the mutton hook is a fraction low, but as someone asked, sometime I will try and pitch the Trail Star, or attempt to pitch the Cuban Trail Star a little bit higher, just to see if I can get this a little bit tighter. But again, I wasn't I wasn't dissatisfied with this at all. I mean, you know, it is what it is. It's a bug bivvy. There's not a lot of room in there, but there is enough room to read. You could eat in there. I didn't, of course, but you know, there would be enough room to eat in it, and that would be around about it. In all honesty, you know, it's not enough room to pack away or anything. Really, what would be brilliant is if Ron or Sean could make something that's sort of a little bit smaller than Sean's Bookworks inner, but a little bit bigger than this. Sort of a combination of bug bivvy, but sort of that comes up in the middle to meet the apex of the Trail Star, and maybe just a sort of a little triangular section on the side out here, just to give you more room inside the bug bivvy, you know, for doing a little bit more in there, you know, a little bit more room to maybe pack stuff in there if necessary. So, you know, that's something that's, you know, maybe worth someone thinking about, or maybe I'll have an email or something with Sean or Ron, but I'm sure that there must be some way of making something for the Trail Star that's as flexible, or is almost as light as this, but with just a little bit more room inside. That would be ideal. And you don't really need to stake it out all that much, in all honesty, because once you've put the mat in, that tends to hold it down. So, you know, tying it out and pegging it down wouldn't necessarily be needed. So that's something to think on. My sleeping bag, I must admit, I was very happy with this sleeping bag. This is a PhD 250 gram fill bag in wide, and that kept me warm. Mind you, it wasn't cold anyway. The temperature never... I think the lowest temperature Chris mentioned during the night, because he was able to record nighttime temperatures, which is a handy feature that I can't do. I think the lowest temperature went down to around about 4 degrees or something like that, but generally it was 5 or 6 degrees minimum, and I was fine in a t-shirt the whole time. So I was certainly very happy with the sleeping bag, and I'll try and attach a kit list to this or the wall. Clothing. Once again, I never wore the fleecy t-shirts, and of course I didn't wear the gloves. I did wear the light socks. I did not wear the balaclava. It was never cold enough to need that. It's the first time I've actually slept well without a balaclava, and the leggings, of course, I wore, and they were comfortable. So I don't regret taking any of that. I must admit I did not, well, I used the binoculars once, so it probably wasn't really worth taking them, but Chris used his several times, so I probably would you know, think twice personally about taking binoculars. Food. All the food that you saw me take, this chocolate and orange rice pudding is the only food that I did not eat. And in fact, at the very last minute, I put in one more cereal bar, and I ate that, and all my rubbish that was in my pocket fitted in this stuff sack. So you take your food in, don't forget, please pack it out again, which I've done there, so that will all be thrown away. The Neo Air X Lite performed brilliantly. I was very happy with that. Yeah, I put an extra flapjack in at the last minute, and I ate that out on the hill. It never rained, so I didn't need the waterproof coat. I didn't need the waterproof trousers. I never needed to try the rain wrap. I did occasionally wear the wind shirt, the Arc'teryx wind shirt, and that did well. And like any wind shirt, it's so light I could stuff it inside the outside pocket of the pack. I did wear the Arc'teryx Atom LT jacket most evenings, not really in the mornings, but in the evenings, because it was quite cool. Oh, right, I've still got some powdered milk left, and one breakfast left, and some tea stuff left, but that's all that I got left in the food line. Because I didn't film quite as much as I was expecting, I never used the spare memory cards. I used all of this power pack, and a quarter of that one, and I think I used one of these batteries here as well. So again, because I didn't do much recording, I had plenty of power spare. Cooking, you saw I used this. Yes, for cooking this did very well. I was more than happy with this. The only thing is quite a lot to carry. You know, if you're going to be lighting a fire as we did the first night, then it's certainly worth it because you'd be able to save on maths. But I think for most of my cooking purposes, unless I'm guaranteed to be lighting fires, then this will just go onto the reserve shelf and come out sometime in the future, and I'll go back to my lighter weight Mountain Laurel Designs cook system. And that's how much meths I have left, so I had plenty spare. But I was certainly glad I took it, because it was certainly worth giving it a go with the fire. I have to leave that out and just give that a clean actually. And they need a clean. I never took any notes, so the book was excess weight. Paracord, which is just emergency spare. I used the toothbrush and the soap, and there's nothing wrong with using the Dr. Bonner's peppermint soap for doing your teeth, just one drop, and it really is fine. And Chris tried a drop as well, and I think even he was okay with it. My repair kit, which again I really must do a separate video on that at some time, and my first aid kit. The cheese I took was Gorgonzola cheese and Stilton cheese, and I used a small penknife to cut pieces of that off, and again that actually worked fine. In fact, my cheese I think survived better than Chris's. He'd bought some sliced cheese, and that seemed to go quite yucky by the looks of it. But he kept his on the top of his pack, so it probably got a little bit warmer, whereas I kept mine inside the pack, and I was more than happy with my cheese. There was no problems there. I didn't take the Tilly hat, I wore the North Face hat, and that worked fine. The pegs, of course, were okay. You've probably seen these pegs before, but I use a mixture of the long 9-inch pegs, the 6.5-inch or thereabouts titanium V pegs, and 5 pins, and that combination so far seems to work quite well for me. The Rab Miko t-shirt I was very happy with that. Can definitely recommend it. Doesn't smell at all. Mind you, I didn't wear it all that much because it was quite warm, but I certainly wore it at night and during the day a couple of times, but mostly I just wore my Paramo shirt. Pillow, I won't go without my pillow. That's the new Xped ultralight pillow, and that did very well. Oh, hello Bess. And we've got Bess. It's just right. Oops. Come here, Bess. Bess, come here. We'll go. I can't know if they can. I'm trying to look at the screen. Right, when I took Bess up to the vet 2 weeks ago, she felt something in this neck of the woods here, I've just been back up to the vet and she couldn't feel anything, but that doesn't mean it's not there. It is still there, unfortunately, it appears. She lifted the front legs up like that, and when you do that it slipped back there. So she said just treat her as normal and let her enjoy life. So that's what we'll do, because at the moment you wouldn't know that there was anything wrong. You really wouldn't. She's running around as normal. Oh, and of course I made up 3 cocos and never ate that either. Of course the gloves and hat and buff I never needed. Toilet paper, well I was out for 3 days and 3 nights, and well, without going into details, I just went once, but I think I've made up for it ever since. Waterproof gloves, of course, I didn't use. That I used once. The stuff sacks, of course, worked fine, and I'm more than happy, as I say, you putting one inside the other. I just feel that's more secure that way. The lock sack I used for the map. The tiny torch was fine because it was, you know, it wasn't dark until 10:30, 11 o'clock, and light again first thing in the morning, so that was fine for the time that I was out. Glasses I wore a lot, and the water bottles worked fine. I need to tip those out actually. So, oh, that's the little bit of mat. I use that quite a lot just to sit on or kneel on. That worked well. I used the mosquito coil a little bit at the first night, and the pacer poles, of course, worked well. And I think this is just more rubbish in here. Yeah, it's more rubbish. And my little ditty pack with little things in there, and again that worked well because I had instant access to it in my pocket, and that's it. So a little bit of a rundown. I hope that's of interest, and we'll catch you again soon. Thanks. Oh, and the last thing I forgot, because of course the camera was on it, was the tripod. Brilliant, beautiful tripod, beautifully made, but I used it once. Now admittedly I may have used it, or could have used it more often, time allowing and all that sort of thing, but it's nearly 900 grams. And for occasional use, backpacking, for carrying a small camera that is on the heavier side, it's still lightweight compared to many tripods, but it is it's not that light. So I've ordered from Amazon the tripod that Chris had, and I'll give that a go. I think it was about £29 or something like that, so there's a bit of a difference in price and everything, but it's certainly worth giving that a go. And of course I've also got the Gorilla Pod as well if I feel that's better. So I just wanted to add that in about the tripod.